What I wanted to do was talk about the evolving role of cybersecurity counsel. I think it's important because it used to be a couple years ago when you think about what is the role of lawyers in security, you might think, well, in many breaches you'll have personal information that could be disclosed, and I'll need my lawyers to review the state data breach notification statutes. You might also think that law enforcement gets involved, and if I get a subpoena from the government, I'll probably want my lawyers to take a look at it. And many years ago, that was the sort of limited role of attorneys in cybersecurity, but that's not where we're at today. We now have, cybersecurity law programs being put on, conferences devoted to cybersecurity law initiatives, programs, law schools with institutes on cybersecurity law, conferences, and even an evolving role within corporations to have cybersecurity counsel. So I thought I would shed some light on why we need to be thinking of the legal aspects of cybersecurity and where it's evolving. From a proactive standpoint, so we're often more familiar in the breach, which we'll talk about in the next slide, why we need to have lawyers involved. But from a proactive standpoint, we've had increased regulatory scrutiny of companies and organizations' cybersecurity practices across the board. To give a couple of examples, the Federal Communications Commission has announced a new regulatory paradigm that involves development of a cyber risk assessment tool for organizations and telecommunications. The Food and Drug Administration is actively analyzing cybersecurity threats related to medical devices and requiring manufacturers to have a better sense of their cybersecurity practices as it relates to those devices. On a state level, the New York Department of Financial Services launched an initiative to assess insurance company cybersecurity policies by sending out what's the so-called 308 letters. And notably, the SEC, the Office of Compliance Inspections and Examinations, the OCIE, launched an initiative to assess the cybersecurity preparedness of 50 registered brokers and dealers. So company regulators are interested in understanding the cyber risk that organizations face, the practices that they have, particularly focused on cybersecurity corporate governance, what's the structure, how are companies responding to these evolving risk profile with respect to cybersecurity incidents.